Some people think, yeah, I'll get Kundalini to Sahasrara, boom, I'm out of here. I'll ask who am I, boom, I'm out of here. Kiss my behind, everyone, I hate you all, I'm out of manifestation. It's not going to work. We need to learn the connection to the Absolute and perfect brotherhood.
So, everybody, the point of these, it will be lectures in time, is to shed a little bit of light and hopefully some more profound and principled understanding upon what it means to live in an ashram. It's probably one of the more difficult practices while being sort of taken for granted. It's like, well, if you're on a spiritual path, then you will sort of live in a spiritual community and it sort of happens by itself. We want to put more awareness to it for you to understand and also address some subjects that are typically subjects of conflict within spiritual communities to address them clearly. In the fashion of our guide, we have two mottos, because he always loves to put mottos, and the mottos are: the ashram is the heart of the master, which is one way how, especially in India, the ashram, the spiritual community, the place where the yogis live together, is regarded. And another one is the ashram is inside of us. So in accordance with these two mottos, we want to present to you a little bit about ashram life. And I would like you to contemplate just for a moment, very alive within your own heart, how would it be if the ashram is the heart of the master? How would it be to live in somebody's heart? Just imagine that you're living in someone's heart, in the sanctum of their being, in the center of their being, where the life force is pumped through their system. And then it's not just the heart of just someone, anyone, but it's the heart of an enlightened being. And maybe it's not just a enlightened being, but it might be your master. If you found one and you're lucky enough that that master also supports communities, that's what we are talking about. So just imagine, how would you behave? What would you do? How would you be to fellow human beings? How would you treat the space? How would you treat yourself within that space? Coming from this idea of living within your master's heart. And we wish to somehow take that as the source point of all the other principles that we will address. But we always want to return back to this point, what it really means to live within a spiritual community, not just as an outer thing, but also as an inner thing. Nowadays, ashram life, spiritual community life, is often misunderstood, at least to a certain degree, as just another nice community living opportunity. Maybe a little nicer than other places, maybe a little stricter than other places, but it's like, it's an option to live. And maybe it's a nice option to live, maybe it's a slightly challenging option to live, but it's just an option to live, basically. And it should be much more than that in order to actually become what it is meant to be, which is a meaningful practice. Living in an ashram means that you turn your living situation into a practice. And I mean, I know some of you are for a long time on the path, of you that are watching, and you already know what the difficulty it is to turn your love life into a spiritual practice. It's a thing. You will be busy with that for a long time and figure out things and make mistakes and all of that stuff. And now living in an ashram is making your whole living situation, your lifestyle, your 24-hour experience within your home, within your space, to make that a spiritual practice. So it's not just some little thing. So therefore, we want to give it the proper space to really address it. The lectures that we will be giving to you will be both based on more traditional ideas around ashram life, monastic life, hermitage life, to understand a little bit where, let's say, this idea came from traditionally, but then also we want to share with you a bit our contemporary experiences and possibly even enter an interesting dialogue, answer your questions and so forth. So let's hear a bit more.
So inside of our heart, deep inside our heart, there is this wish to blossom. There's like a flower there, if you may. And that flower in the heart has been trying to blossom since we were born. And it needs very particular conditions. A particular nourishment, a particular protection, and a particular challenge. And the ashram life is meant to give that. It is meant to give a space in which this light of the heart can blossom. The essence of the ashram is to facilitate this space in which the light of our heart can really grow, can really manifest. And it is a very, very, let's say, delicate work because we are co-participants in the creation of the ashram. We build it in the same time that we are in it. So for the individual, the ashram is there to facilitate the best conditions so that the spiritual seekers can receive everything they need: challenge, discipline, teachings, feedback, loving community, in order to grow spiritually. And the other meaning of an ashram is to be tangent to the kingdom of heaven. As it is in heaven, so on earth. The old monasteries of Padma and so forth in Tibet in the 8th century, they were built to reflect Shambhala. They were built to reflect some divine realities. The temples that were built in Jerusalem, the Temple of Solomon, and then the Temple of Ezra as well, and Nehemiah, also to bring this light, to bring here on earth something that is like there in heaven. And with this ideal, the prophets speak about the New Jerusalem and so forth. There is, as we go up in creation, a higher and higher degree of order and harmony. When we go towards very low, unconscious, violent groups of people, there is a decrease in the degree of harmony, of order, of understanding, of following the divine principles. And then as we rise to human beings with higher level of consciousness, the level of order and of harmony increases, and this, the spiritual teachings tell us, continue to increase as we rise to higher and higher planes of manifestations. The ashram is an attempt to bring that godly harmony here on earth. So the ashram is supposed to create an inner state inside, and through that inner state to create a paradise of togetherness. Yeah? How are they up there with all these testimonies about how angels sing? They sing with one voice. Sometimes numerous, thousands and thousands of angels, they sing in perfect harmony and play their little angelic instruments there, or big angelic instruments. They play in perfect harmony. This state of paradisiacal unity is what the ashram is meant to create. And we aim to live in the ashram with two main goals. One is to perfect our path and our connection to our supreme spiritual ideal, be it God in some tradition, Buddha in some tradition, whatever, Parabrahman or the Absolute or whatever you call it. But one aspect is that we transform in order to become perfect in front of that and to be able to return to our original spiritual nature, to get enlightened, or to attain God realization, or whatever it is called in the different traditions. And the other one, which is almost as important, is to learn and apply to live perfect fraternity. People tend to remember the first and forget the second, and to forget how intertwined are those. There is a tendency of people living in spiritual community to focus very much on the individual evolution in front of their supreme spiritual ideal, and to focus less on this fraternity, not understanding that the fraternity is that. Yeah, when Christ was asked, what are the two most important commandments? What did he say? Love God and love your neighbor. Love God with all your heart, with all your might, with all your spirit, and love your neighbor. The actual Hebrew "ve'ahavta l'reacha" is actually love your fellow man, not so much your neighbor. Love your fellow man as you love yourself. The first condition that is created in the ashram is that of protection. When we live with very, very violent people, unconscious people, rude people, competitive people, people that always want to take, we're not so inspired to give. Yeah, if you are as strong as Mother Teresa, you can go in the streets of Calcutta among the poorest of the poor and still your light will continue to shine. But if you're not that strong, and some of us are not that strong, we rather gather into places where other people that want to grow in spiritually and that want to grow in fraternity are. And then in an environment which is less taking, less aggressive, less egoistic and selfish, we can be a bit, or even dramatically, more giving, more honest, more transparent, and so forth. In the same way that if a drop would stay alone, it would get dry, so the goodness inside of us and our aspiration alone will tend to get dry. But if you take many, many drops of water, some oceans have been here for hundreds of millions of years, the sun was there, the oceans survived, yeah? Because of this togetherness of the drop. If we would spread the ocean over a much larger space with little drops, the entirety of it would be dry by now. When we have this protection, which the ashram is there to give, or the ashram or the spiritual community is there to give, we feel inclined to become more giving, more kind, more loving, more transparent, more sharing, more ourselves. And as we ourselves are like that, we inspire the others to be like that, and they inspire others, and they inspire us back. And this is the mechanism which makes a spiritual community into a synergic paradise. A community of 3, 5, 7 people that really hold in esteem, in great esteem, this state of brotherhood and are willing to sacrifice everything for the fraternity, to sacrifice all their selfishness and all their judgment and all their hatred and all their personal agendas and so forth. For that, even 3 people can create paradise. Yeah, the first monastery created by Saint John of the Cross. So Saint Teresa of Avila created a very, very special monastery for women with 12 women, and then he created one, or she initiated him to create one for men. There were 3, but all of them saints. And they created such a miraculous, heartful synergy because they loved each other as saints love each other in a miraculous way. And that created such a big catapult for their spiritual evolution. And the power that we have, the synergy that we have, is for almost everyone irreplaceable. It's extremely, extremely difficult to do everything alone in a cave, or everything alone in an apartment living I don't know what life. Extremely difficult. And this synergy that is created as we give, and then there's more to give, and then we feel inspired more to give, and then this state of giving, of love, of humility, of forgiveness becomes more and more intense. There is a collective and amplification of the resonance. So there is the protection as one point, there is the synergy, this paradisiacal synergy as the other, and then there is the support for our practice. When we stay together, People often say this, I go out of the ashram for 3 days, very difficult to do 4 or 5 hours of practice, very difficult. I come back in, that's all I feel to do. In such a community, we feel much more inspired to practice. You see, the community sits on a few rules, or on a few principles rather, a few fundamental attitudes, and then all those who are attracted to these attitudes come there together. And those attitudes, the wish to practice, the wish for spiritual discipline, the wish for love and all that, increase very, very much like this. So the gift of discipline is given in the community. In order to create such a paradisiacal synergy, we need to look beyond the ashram. We need to look beyond the people that we live with. We need to look beyond all of that and go very deep inside and understand the necessity for us as an individual to awaken perfect fraternity. If you read Gandhi's biography, he had this wish for perfection in non-violence, the wish for perfection in truth. And that wish gave him power to do everything that he did. He corrected himself and then had power to do what he did. So our wish should be the same. Now this person is annoying, is noisy, is stinky, is taking, is accusing. If we look only at that person, we will tend to get reactive. And then we will get accusive. And then a third person will get accusive to us. Why are we accusive in an ashram? And then the synergy very easily goes down. Yeah, we go downward, we spiral down. Now everybody is pointing fingers at everybody. But if we look beyond the person and we look towards our values of fraternity, we say, well, this person is accusive towards me. Now is my chance to perfect what I've learned. What would a person who mastered fraternity do in such a place? And then in these moments, actually, when you are challenged, but you remember, you don't look at Kaiho, you don't look at Blandine, you don't look at Radu, you look at the principle. And then this is a great opportunity to follow the principle. Saint Teresa of Lisieux, they had meditation time. And behind her there was a woman who was very, very noisy. Every day, click, 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 I don't know what she was doing. And for a very long time she listened to her and she said, I would never look back, so I didn't want to offend her and to tell her that she... So she just learned after a very long time to meditate with that really, really annoying noise. It's not necessarily that this is the reaction that everyone should adopt, but it shows that even, that hour of meditation, of communion, which was so important to her, the state of spiritual brotherhood was there and of the highest importance. And if you follow your ideal in the time of test, and people test you, and you follow your ideal, you gain a tremendous spiritual power. I lived in ashrams now for, 18, 19 years. I had roommates which had schizophrenia. I had roommates who were in jail before they were in the ashram. Also a form of community life. I had roommates that would never speak, but would stare at me. We were 6 in a room. 10 years. And all of these, there were just more and more opportunities to apply that. And the attitude of perfect fraternity starts with, if it's happening to me, it is mine. It is my debts that are being possibly paid now. It is my karma, my integration. There's a higher force that's putting me here. Now, what do I do with it? Do I continue to spiral with, now I get all aggressive, I scare the other person and they obey me? That's my strategy? How many times have I done this and now they keep coming? Or do I break the cycle of violence, the cycle of accusations, the cycle of aggression, the cycle of victimizing. And I take a higher, loving, conscious, lucid, fearless, forgiving approach. The idea in the ashram is to apply and to see every visit to the kitchen, because mostly people meet in the kitchen. They meet for eating. They go practice and they meet for eating. So when you go to the kitchens, we can write on the kitchen door, forgive, love, be patient, care, sacrifice for your brothers and sisters. You go there, you see who is there, think giving, think forgiving. Not for that person, but for yourself. To come out, to rewire our contact with people to these very simple. Love and forgiveness is already almost enough. Care and sacrifice. To rewire the human contact like this. This is why we are here. I was a strange, not autistic, but quite distant and quite unclear person. Not so heartful, not so good in communicating with people. And this flower that I felt I have in my heart was just bombarded with Israeli aggression. I don't know how much you know Israelis, but they keep on pulling your tongue all the time, and they keep on pushing you here and pushing you there, and it was very, very stressful. And when I got to the ashram, there was a place where I could just open and be vulnerable and learn loving communication and learn courage in love, learn to be fearless and loving, not just loving and pleasing and cowardly. So this is what we are here to learn, and let's say the unconscious tendency will be always to focus on the things that bother us with other people and not on the principle, and understand all that bothers us is a chance to uplift. And we always have the choice, if you want to put it in one sentence, we always have the choice to see all the human interactions here. If we are cleaning something, we're talking something, we're arguing about something, we're bothered with something, we're happy with something, we can see it with two different eyes. One is the eye of a personal agenda, and the other is the eye of the wish for perfect fraternity. And if you keep that one idea in mind, and your heart longs for that and burns for that and understands that this is the necessity, you're not going to end this stage ever, ever if you don't learn fraternity. You will just reincarnate. You didn't learn this time. You didn't learn the last 500 times. Come, see how the world will be in 50 years. You'll reincarnate again, and you'll have to study the same thing again. Perfect fraternity. Some people think, I'll get Kundalini to Sahasrara, boom, I'm out of here. I'll ask who am I, boom, I'm out of here. Yeah? Kiss my behind, everyone, I hate you all, I'm out of manifestation. It's not going to work. You need to learn the connection to the Absolute and perfect brotherhood. Otherwise, you're going to stay and repeat the same stage of learning. Now, if we have in a community, and we do have, and we have in all of us, and I have in myself, personal agenda, that personal agenda will eat up the good energy that everybody else is giving. And then we need to be very, very attentive that we are constantly on the giving, and that we always give to the community a bit more than we receive. Because when we give, the value grows. Yeah, if somebody is there and is washing someone else's plate, then we have a double value. We have the value that the plate is washed, and we have the value that giving is put in the community. So essentially, if everybody gives a bit extra, as Blandine will share more in detail, the heart of the community, the resources of the community grow. And if everybody starts to take more than they receive, the entire thing will starve and collapse. So this growth, this exponential growth in through this giving and through the law of all-called giving is the essence that makes a spiritual community paradisiac.
Hey guys, if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content on spirituality, Tantra and more.
And if you want to sign up for our online classes or for our retreats, you can see our website on the description below.